time I've come to Hungary's beautiful wine-growing region and the lovely 1,000-year-old town of Eger at the foot of the Buk Mountains. The idea was to get a sense of life in a typical Hungarian town. Of course, that's a flawed premise because there's really nothing typical about a town this old, this beautiful, and this steeped in Hungarian culture. The population here is about 53,000, but it's more like a city in miniature, and for good reason, starting with its centuries-old architecture set against winding streets and alleyways overlooked by a castle on the hill. I'm walking down one of those alleyways now, which is about to open up into the main square. This is Dobo Square, the center of the old town where several of Eger's best-known streets converge. Only vehicles with special permits are allowed to be on the streets here, which makes it a walker's paradise. This square takes its name from Dobo István, whose statue you can see behind me. He was one of the main heroes of the siege of Eger, in which Hungarians, a small number, repelled invading Ottoman Turks in the year 1556. Of course, the undisputed architectural gem of this plaza is the 250-year-old church behind me. This beautiful Baroque Roman Catholic church was built in the 1700s by Hungarian and Transylvanian minority groups. It's officially named for St. Anthony of Padua, but it's almost always called the Minaret Church for the religious order in whose service it was built. The heart of Eger is very compact, meaning it's totally walkable, which is another reason why being here is so enjoyable. In a way, it's like a large city condensed into a small space without the hustle and the noise. Tucked into the marvelous architecture of these buildings, you'll find just about every kind of shop you would expect of a thriving mid-sized town, including, of course, a good many catering to tourists. Yet this is a real living place. It's not a tourist trap. I'm here in a little street-side cafe where I've just ordered a typical Hungarian food that I can't get enough of, and I'm talking about langos, a deep-fried bread that you can embellish with any number of toppings. I'm keeping mine simple with just sour cream, cheese, and arugula, even though people here love to add garlic and mushrooms and just about anything else you can imagine. I didn't want to do too much to detract from that wonderful, soft, warm, buttered bread, which is just fabulous to put in your mouth. These days you'll find langos all over Hungary and pretty much everywhere else in Eastern Europe. That is so delicious. I think they invented the term comfort food just for this. My experience at the Bowser Badnerhaus is most pleasant and exceptional for a reason I would have never guessed. My room is simple, clean, and comfortable. No complaints there. But as I show you around, you will notice something a bit odd. There's nobody else here. No guests, and in my experience, no staff. But as you can see, there's a nice community room in here, sofa and tables, and a kitchen that is, to say the least, fully equipped. Microwave here, which I made good use of, but there's a sink and a refrigerator, all sorts of glassware around, a toaster over in the corner, a gas range, and look at the pots and pans. You could really do some normal cooking in here. And after you leave this space, go into another chamber. I'm not going to bother to turn on every light in the place, but into the front, which looks like it was well, it definitely used to be, I don't know what, a dining hall area facing the street, and there's a double door over there, which was probably at one time the formal entrance to the place. It's a wonderful old place, a bit of maybe a dowager queen of an inn, if you will, for Hungary, but very nice and comfortable and well maintained. If only someone were here. I go out the door and look up at the second floor balcony. That's my room, number 7. It's just a mystery. When I first arrived here, there was a nice young lady who came out to meet me. I remember arriving about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and she showed me my room and checked me in, and I thought, okay, there was no one here at the time, but I didn't think much of it. I thought it was an early check-in. I haven't seen her since. Neither have I seen anyone else. This is the lobby area of the second floor. 2 rooms at one end, and there seem to be about 4 rooms, I would say, 2 rooms, I would say, long ways, I guess, along this front facing the street. And there are 3 rooms here on this end. And of course, in addition to the 2 rooms that I identified a moment ago, there's my room, which has its own separate alcove. Very nice, very private. The place where I sit in the morning with my heated munchies, including bread rolls and sweets and some fruit and yogurt and a drink, and enjoy the early mornings here. There's not a sound to be heard here during the night. I don't know, this is a great little Hungarian country inn, if you will, that the longer I've been here, the longer it's starting to feel like Hotel California. But I think I'll be able to leave this place. It's just a short distance from the heart of the town to the hilltop home of Eger Castle. And as you can probably tell from looking behind me, it isn't an overly strenuous walk up here. This is the second of Eger's castles. The first one, on a nearby hill, was destroyed during an invasion by Mongols in the year 1241. After the Mongols were driven out, it was decided to rebuild the castle on this hill, directly above the town. This castle figures importantly in Hungarian history because of what happened here in the year 1556. That's when about 2,000 soldiers repelled an invading force of Ottoman Turks that numbered more than 30,000. The Hungarians took fewer than 500 casualties. The Ottomans came back and overran the place in 1596 and ruled much of Hungary for nearly a century thereafter. The column you see behind me is one of the few things left of the one-time Episcopal Cathedral that stood on this spot. In fact, I'm walking in the middle of the ruins of it. It was here that in 1201, King Emmerich I was laid to rest. And interestingly, it wasn't until 1937 that archaeologists discovered the chamber in which he was buried. I'm walking along the southern wall, which is about 55 meters long, at least the section of it that I'm walking on. And it gives you probably the best idea of just how fortified this place was. The wall here is pretty much intact from its last iteration in the 1500s. And as you can see, as I point the camera down, you can see how high it was. I rode an elevator up 4 floors, and now there's a spiral staircase to the top. Sort of hidden behind the elevator is a second spiral staircase that appears to lead us out onto, we'll see where. It turned out to be the rampart, offering a full frontal view of the heart of Eger. There's a place other than Castle Hill that offers one of the best views in town, and although I'm almost there and can see it up ahead, I don't think I'll force myself to take advantage of it. That's because it involves a claustrophobic climb up 98 spiraling steps in a tightly enclosed place. This is exactly what it appears to be, a minaret left over from the Ottoman occupation of Hungary in the 1600s. There were 17 of these built in this town during the 91 years of Ottoman rule. This is the only one that remains. After the Ottomans were driven out, all the other minarets were destroyed, but this one wouldn't budge. The townspeople first tried human force. Then they brought in 400 oxen and tried to pull it down, but it wouldn't move. In the end, they erected a cross on top and left it alone. In the larger scheme of things, this is what makes this minaret a symbol of human frailty. What was for so long a hated landmark has become a symbol of good relations between Hungary and Turkey. This marvelous lane that I'm on serves as a main pedestrian way connecting the old town to other parts of Eger. It just happens to be through a sprawling park with tons of walking paths, playgrounds, and a beautiful fountain. I didn't come here intentionally to be in a park. In fact, I'm on the way to the train station to buy a ticket for when I leave here in a couple of days. This particular promenade is alongside Eger Stream, the small river that comes down out of the Buc Mountains and runs roughly 70 kilometers to a band of hills to the south. I can't help but admire what a livable place this is, with its wine cellars and libraries, thermal baths, and several colleges and universities, all encased in a little jewel box of elegant architecture. Of course, this being a university town, there are a lot of people, a lot of students using bicycles to get around. There are plenty of places to rent bicycles. This is a obviously active community with lots of people walking. One of the reasons I really appreciate this park is that it's a kind of pedestrian traffic divider. It's been ingeniously designed for that purpose, with walkways that go north and south, east and west, and diagonally. On my little stroll to the train station, I've probably been able to shave, at least half a kilometer off my journey. I'm not sure how old this train station is. It certainly predates World War II, I believe, but it's still very attractive. It has of course, a front entryway that few people seem to use by comparison to those who take a shortcut and approached the station across the rail yard, traipsing across the 6 lines of track in front of it. Well, I purchased my ticket. I was able to use a credit card and buy the fare for my departure here in a couple of days. Altogether, a very reasonable price, I believe. I paid the equivalent of $28 USD for what amounts to a scheduled 8-hour train ride. It's my final morning here. My bags are packed near the front door. And it's time to leave the lonely inn. And on the last evening of my stay here, finally, 2 guests, Russians from St. Petersburg. I think I scared one of them. Well, that's it for the most peaceful and quiet guest house or hotel stay I've ever had. Not a bad deal, I would say. So all that's left to do now is drop the key in the box, and it's so long, old friend.